Hey, how's it going, everybody? Jeff Johnson from the Gazette here, along with Jeff Linder, the two Jeffs, and we are going to call it both ways once again this week. Our weekly basketball podcast, mostly high school related, also some Iowa women's topic, as always, every week. And, we've got a lot of things to talk about this week. So I think we'll just dive right into it. And I'm going to let Jeff take over here because he's doing some good work here on what has become the mess known as the Northeast Iowa Conference, soon to not be the Northeast Iowa Conference. If you haven't heard, the other day, Crestwood decided to amscray from the conference and has been accepted to the Upper Iowa Conference, which makes that now a 10-team or a 10-school league. And it sounds like the UIC is not done. The NIC, as I said, is done. Jeff, what's the latest on this Northeast Iowa Conference, Upper Iowa Conference drama, I guess?
Yeah, well, nothing's done yet, but it's certainly trending that way with the Northeast Iowa Conference, which has existed pretty much intact since 1920. It's 104 years this conference has been in existence, and a lot of these members have been members for all of that time. And looks like it's going to split up, or several members might be looking for a new home. We know the story about Waverly. They were essentially kicked out a couple of years ago, got an extension of a year. This is their last year. They'll be independent next year, and then who knows what'll happen with Waverly, whether it's WAMAC, MVC, Alliance, all of those are options. So Crestwood applied for membership in the Upper Iowa Conference. A lot of schools that are significantly smaller than Crestwood, and the Upper Iowa said, "Sure, we'll take you." We also want to invite Waukon and New Hampton. I think the expectation is that both of them will accept membership into the Upper Iowa Conference, which would make it a 12-team league. So the big schools would be the three soon to be former Northeast Iowa schools, which would be Crestwood, New Hampton, Waukon, along with North Fayette Valley, which has been by far the biggest school in the Upper Iowa for some time now, as well as MFL and South Wind. The small schools would be Postville, Clayton Ridge, Turkey Valley, Elkader, West Central, Lansing Key. So 2 divisions of 6. What on earth does Decorah do now? Charles City is sending a letter of inquiry to the North Central Conference. I've heard from a pretty good source that that's not, they won't be accepted. Decorah, I don't know. The closest school in the WAMAC is 68 miles away in Independence. West Delaware is about 75 miles away. Grinnell's 145 miles away, which is the longest drive there. So what do you do? Decorah has no good options. My guess would be that they would seek membership, get mediation relief from whether it's the Board of Ed, whether it's the IHSAA or the union, and probably try to get into that Upper Iowa Conference bigger division, which probably wouldn't be a bad fit.
You are looking at what's the cores? I looked all these up, the bets from this year. It's like 480, 481, 482, 483.
Yeah, Decorah is in the upper 4s. The next schools are in the
Lansing Key is under 100, right?
Yeah, West Central's at 60.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to have those teams play each other, I don't think. You could just have the big schools games count. It could be kind of like the River Valley, where not everybody plays each other anymore in the north and south. I think the Tri Rivers is the same way, where not everybody plays each other. I've heard that if this goes through, some schools in the Upper Iowa Conference might go knocking on the doors of the Tri-Rivers,
Which has an uneven number of schools.
which has an uneven number of schools. Um, the superintendent from Clayton Ridge is Shane Walls, and he's also the president of the Upper Iowa Conference. I asked him if this goes down, will Clayton Ridge look elsewhere? He said no. Elkader Central would be a good fit with some of those schools in the northern part of the Tri-Rivers, the Edcos and Starmonts and Mac Valleys and so forth. So maybe that would be a possibility to get it to a 16-team conference. But if schools would start leaving, the smaller schools start leaving, then really nothing's been accomplished at all. So it's a fluid situation. This is where it stands today, and where it stands today isn't where it's going to stand in a few weeks.
You look at this, Jeff, and it doesn't affect football, obviously, because we've got districts, but all the other sports, it really does.
Yeah.
Basketball, track and field, wrestling, baseball,
softball. Yeah. So it's not a good situation. It's a terrible situation for Decorah. Tune in tomorrow.
Well, hopefully this will get figured out sooner or later. Crestwood doesn't go till 24-25, correct? So one more
25,
year.
26.
25, 26. So
yeah.
This is 24. So okay, so it would be one more year
right
after this in the Northeast Iowa Conference.
Right. Next year, the Northeast Iowa will be a 5-team league. Waukon, Charles City, Decorah, Crestwood, New Hampton. It'll be a 5-team league. So, and that's nowhere near optimal either.
No, and we haven't even touched on Waverly. Waverly's been in limbo here for however long because nobody else, the Northeast Iowa schools that are in now, basically expelled Waverly.
That's accurate.
So Waverly is looking for a home as well. So
the Northeast Iowa schools were good enough to give them an additional year in the conference, which is this year. They're going to be independent next year. We know that. And then they've applied again to the WAMAC for 25-26. I expect the WAMAC to say no again. It wouldn't be a bad fit for the MVC. I don't think. The MVC is shortest school. They're at 15. People say that, they're too far away. Well, they're not much farther away than Cedar Falls or Waterloo West.
Correct. Yeah.
So,
but then what do you do when CCA gets big enough to join the MVC?
Yeah. And my guess is they're kind of holding that spot open for Clear Creek Amana, but is that going to be 3 years? Is it going to be 5? Is it going to be 10 when they come aboard? And what do some of these other schools do in the meantime? What does Wash do? What does Jeff do?
What happens with Waterloo? Do they combine and become one high school?
If they combine and become one high school, they'll be in the MVC.
You think so?
I've got that on pretty good knowledge.
Okay. Because that'd still be a good fit for the Alliance, honestly. Because there's some big schools in the Alliance, the Des Moines public schools. So
yeah, well, and that's another thing. I've heard that Ames is maybe looking at leaving the Alliance already, and maybe thinking about the Little Hawkeye, which is Indianola, Norwalk, that direction. That probably would be a more competitive league. And so if they go, what does Fort Dodge do? What does Mason City do? What does Marshalltown do? What does Waterloo East do? So,
the Big 8, baby, the Big 8.
Yeah, well,
it wouldn't be 8, but
it might be Big 4.
Yeah.
So now everybody knows what Washington State and Oregon State feel like these days.
Exactly, right? And this isn't all money related or money driven. So
right.
Well, thanks for that update, Jeff. I knew you were working on something. I think you can get online right now at thegazette.com, and you've got a story out there to kind of explains the situation and what schools are thinking and all that kind of stuff. So we'll keep our ears to the ground. Darren Svensson does a great job up in Decorah.
Yes.
He's our buddy. He's been on top of this from the start. He's a great guy. So follow him on Twitter too. I definitely would recommend that.
Yep.
He works as tirelessly up there in what is KDEC? Is that the radio station he
I
works
don't
for?
know if it's that or is it KVIK? I think there's at least two radio stations up there, and I'd be lying if I said I knew.
Yeah,
So I'm sorry.
yeah. Well, should we turn to postseason basketball,
Let's
Jeff?
do it.
You got all the pairings for the girls. Now the
Yeah,
big schools have just been released. You want to kind of run by
sure.
some of the run by some of the highlights there, I guess.
Yeah. First of all, 1A starts tonight. 1A regional first round is tonight. 2A first round and 3A quarterfinals are Saturday. Excuse me. And then 4A and 5A begin next week. Those pairings came out yesterday. I think the highlight there is 5A Region 7, where Prairie and Cedar Falls, which, by the way, play tonight to pretty much determine the MVC Mississippi Division Championship. They're in the same region. My guess is, since 5A and 4A final rankings haven't come out yet, is that the winner of that game will probably host that regional final.
Okay.
Washington, I'll tell you, Cedar Rapids, Washington is kind of an interesting region. They're in with Davenport North, which is ranked number 2. Until a week or two ago, I would say North looked probably untouchable in that region, but since then, they've had an injury. Iowa recruit Journey Houston had a knee injury. She's out. So suddenly that looks like, for Washington, that might be gettable.
Okay.
So we'll see.
So there's a chance we're gonna have some Eastern Iowa, or we're gonna get some Eastern Iowa representation in 5A, is what you're saying.
Could. We didn't have any last year.
Yeah.
Prairie's the best bet. Washington's a kind of a neat little dark horse there. As far as the other schools, the Iowa City schools, Kennedy, it would take it would take a pretty good upset or two for one of those schools to get through. Looking in 4A, Clear Creek Amana is the number 1 team. They got a pretty easy ride to state, even though there's a 17-3 Keokuk team in there. But I think Clear Creek's the dominant team there. Western Dubuque is in with number 2 Waverly Shell Rock. Western Dubuque is the MVC Valley Division champion, so they'll be a handful there. Maquoketa and Marion are probably going to meet in the regional semifinals in 4A District 6. I'm sorry, 4A District Region, what are they? 5. Xavier, so much tradition there. They're probably going to have to win 3 road games to get to state, but I'm not sure that. Matter of fact, I'm sure that they're capable of going on a run there. And that's kind of the highlights in 4A. Why don't you take us through 5A quick while I let the dog out?
I just wanted to say too that we talk about Western Dubuque as I think some people, especially up in that area, decided or didn't know that if Western Dubuque would be able to compete in the Mississippi Valley Conference, and I think that's been proven that absolutely Western Dubuque can compete in the Mississippi Valley Conference when you look at, like you said, division champion girls basketball team, baseball team, in all the sports. There's no question Western Dubuque has been able to compete in the MVC. So,
and I think in time, Clear Creek Amana is going to grow into it as well, don't you?
I agree. It's a really burgeoning community. A lot of nice houses, nice housing areas that continue to be built up there. So it's going to have some money within the district, and you're fooling yourself if you don't think that matters. It does. Um, so yeah, absolutely. It's just curious to see when Clear Creek gets there. It's not a matter of if. I'm very sure it's a matter of when. So um, yeah. The
When we were in high school, Clear Creek was a 1A school.
Oh, absolutely, and more or less a rural
Yeah,
school. Yeah, okay. Tiffin kind of sat off the interstate a little bit, but you really couldn't get to it. You had to take 80 if you wanted to
yeah,
do highway. You couldn't get to it off 380 very easily. And it was the Lark Supper Club. I remember going down there,
yeah,
senior prom. That's where we ate supper, was the Lark and Tiffin, and it was a small town.
yeah,
Uh, so yeah, but it is a very nice community. It's kind of turned into a North Liberty type of thing, and yeah, without a doubt, that gonna fit, gonna fit there.
yeah.
So we've you got all the girls' pairings.
Yeah, take us through 1A and 2A for the boys.
Okay. Thought I thought the association, not trying to glad hand them or anything, but did a really nice job when the splitting up power, and keeping in mind, of course, that geography is always going to play a part in this. So you look at, for instance, District 5 in Class 1A, you've got Northland as your number one seed, and Don Bosco's number two. Uh, Northland, it would be a big upset if Northland doesn't get through that district and back to sub-state. And then, a little bit of ingenuity here in the opposing district. You got Ankeny Christian as your number one seed, and West Fork number two. So I mean, those are, you wouldn't ordinarily think that Northland would be placed in a sub-state with schools out west and up north, but that's the case there. And then you look at they split up. Then you look at District 7, Bellevue Marquette, which Northland just beat in the 1 versus 3 game rankings wise last Friday night. Bellevue Marquette's the number one seed with Bellevue, um, which will not be easy because those schools are obviously very competitive against each other. Dunkerton over in the other half is your number one seed with Maquoketa Valley in District 8. So whoever survives those districts are going to play for a trip to state. Winfield Mount Union in District 9. Holy Trinity in Fort Madison. District 10 is your number one seed. Montezuma's in there. Then District 11, undefeated Keota is your top seed with Gladbrook Rhinebeck. So that's a little bit of ingenuity there. Rhinebeck's always got a great program. And then District 12 is Lansing Keys, your number one seed with South Wind. So it's not a easy drive from Keota to Lansing, I wouldn't think, Jeff. Right? So there is, like I said, there is some ingenuity here with
Mm-hmm. That
trying
would
to
be neutral site, wouldn't it?
Oh, I would certainly think so. That's the thing. From what I've heard, they're having a hard time finding schools willing to host these sub-state games in particular. So, and that's disappointing, but I guess I kind of get it as
Yeah.
well. So, then you look at Class 2A, just running through some of the area ones here. District 5, Hudson and Jessup are your 1-2. Hudson's a really good team. Plays Cedar Rapids Kennedy this weekend on Saturday in a unique late regular season game. MFL Marmac is in the corresponding District 6 as the number one seed. North Fayette Valley, number 2. District 7, West Burlington and West Branch are your 1-2s. District 8 is Monticello and Cascade. So the winners of the districts there obviously play each other in a sub-state for a trip to state. And looking at some of the other ones here. District 9, Pella Christian, Eddyville, Blacksburg, Fremont. And then District 10 is Alburnett and Iowa City, Regina. So the winners there, whoever survives District 10 would, looks like probably either El Burnett or Regina right now would have a matchup against schools that they're not really close to geographically. So, like I said, it's nice. I've looked through these a couple of times and tried to grade them, but I think the system that is in place now is really kind of working. The rankings and things like that. And obviously, as we said, the geography is going to play a part more in the boys, the IHSA than it is the IGHSAU. Just the way it is, but the fact that they're trying to get, I think, the best teams to state with a representation of schools from around the state, and not just certain areas. I think that's a really good thing. So
Totally agree. Totally agree. You don't want it to be like the old days where, 2 versus 6 in the first round of sectionals that, something like that used to
yeah,
happen. It was just basically totally, you know, based on geography. So I think they've taken some nice steps into, getting some pretty good competitive balance and trying to get, 8 of the best, maybe not the 8 best teams to state, but maybe 8 of the best 10 or 12.
yeah, and we're gonna start with some pigtail games in 1A on Friday already.
Yeah.
Uh, and then Monday was when things really start get cranking, and it'll be pretty much every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. From here on out, with Wednesday, I guess, being used as a potential snow day if needed.
Yeah.
We'll knock on wood that won't happen. So, and then next week we'll have the pairings for 3A and 4A, and be interesting to see how all that comes out. So.
So you've seen 2 showdowns here in the last couple of weeks. You went to Bellevue on Friday and you went to Iowa City West Tuesday, and you saw 2 really good games, and just kind of take us through both of those.
Yeah, Friday night was my first trip to Bellevue Marquette High School. So thank you very much again to all the people up there. They were very, very kind. Um, I'd heard the gym was very small, so I just asked the activities director, "Hey, I don't need. I sit in the stands. That's fine, no big deal. I just want to make sure that I actually can sit in the stands if that's possible." Well, they pulled the table out, put it up at center court at the top of the bleachers for me and Tony Rowe from Prep Hoops Iowa. So very, very nice. And then they went above and beyond when I thought I'd lost my phone after the game was over and I was getting ready to write. Turns out it was stuck between the seats of my car. Embarrassing moment, but the game itself, was Marquette was number 1, Northland was number 3 at the time, and it just seemed to me, Jeff, that the moment was a little bit too big in the first half for Marquette. Just seemed to play a little fast, a little jittery, made me miss some shots that probably should have made. And Northland doing Northland things up. I think it was 13 at halftime, and then the lead grew to like 21 in the third quarter. And you thought, well, geez, this could be a 35-point clock. And Marquette finally settled in. Got her all the way down to 4. Made a bunch of 3-point shots to get her to 4, and then you thought, well, how's Northland going to respond to this? Well, again, Northland, having been in that moment a lot in the last few years, responded just fine, and eventually, pulled away and won by I think it was 8 points at the end, 68-60. It sounds like the scores all run together at this point in the season, but yeah, very impressive. Northland then went back to the number 1 spot this week, jumped both Marquette and Madrid, which is still the number 2 team in 1A. And this is another good Northland team. The numbers are there. 220. Let's see, 226-9 overall since the 15-16 season. Haven't lost more than 1 regular season game since 14-15. 6 straight state championship game appearances. 7 straight state tournaments. I know people get Northland fatigue, but it really is. It's incredible, and I won't stop talking about it because I think it is incredible. So, Northland's going to be a factor, obviously, in 1A. And then Tuesday night, we had number 1 against number 2 in 4A, and Cedar Rapids Kennedy is kind of proved that it is, without question, the team to beat. I think in 4A, picked up a 13-point win, 14-point win, 71-57 over Iowa City West. Game that Kennedy extended. Second quarter really got a big lead going, double digits, and held it throughout. West came back and I think cut it to as few as 7 or 8, maybe late in the third quarter, early in the fourth. But that was pretty much it. Cyrus Courtney, career high 26 points, and that's the thing about this Kennedy team. They have they can get it from all 5 starters. Really, I mean, there's no dominant offensive player. I don't think, and yeah, I mean the Cougars have beaten half of the top 10, the current top 10 right now, and in Iowa City West, Dubuque Senior, Cedar Falls, West Des Moines Valley, and Waukee. That's not bad. And I still think Valley is the team that could give Kennedy its toughest game. Kennedy beat it by 17 a couple of weeks ago, but Valley was without Curtis Stinson Jr., who's probably their best player, out with an injury. He's back now, and they beat Waukee the other night by double digits. So, Kennedy Valley, it would not shock me whatsoever to see that as your final in 4A. That said, ton of basketball left to be played. So
probably imagine projected to be a Valley Iowa City West semifinal, probably as a 2-3 game.
Yeah, that's hard. I think to me, Sioux City has definitely entered the conversation with the big win at Waukee last week or the week before. Looks like it might be a legit team. I still think Dubuque Senior is. Sorry about the Cats. Dubuque Senior is a legit team. It's hard to tell because Senior hasn't. His toughest game has been Kennedy, and Kennedy took it apart. Still has to play Cedar Falls and Iowa City West yet here at the end of the regular season. So how good Senior? Cedar Falls, I think, is a very worthy team. CIML we know is the best top to bottom conference in the class. There's no doubt about that. So, I mean, they bang heads against each other all season. That's going to help in the postseason. Waukee's got 7 losses and is still a team that could make a deep run in the state tournament. Ankeny Centennial is a good team. Ankeny's a good team, not ranked. Waukee Northwest, we just threw into the rankings this week for the first time. That's a good team. Dowling's a good team. So, it'd be nice, I guess, for me to see, a little bit more representation from Eastern Iowa this year. It seems like it's been the CIML Invitational as far as semifinals and finals the last 2-3 years.
Is there anybody along the river, a Pleasant Valley or anybody like that out of the MAC any good?
4 teams have cleared themselves from everyone else. Pleasant Valley, Davenport West, Bettendorf, and North Scott. And they just keep beating each other. So I don't think there's a dominant team out there. That being said, you never want to see Pleasant Valley in your bracket because they play a grinding half-court style that can frustrate the bejesus out of you. Coach Hillman does a great job. They're playing really good basketball right now. And Kennedy knows that's who beat Kennedy last year in the first round. So, PV's always, I think, going to be a factor, but the MAC, there is no clear-cut top team. They literally do keep beating each other. Throw Davenport Assumption in there as well as 3A team. They all just they've been taking turns swapping wins and losses against each other.
Gotcha.
So.
I saw in Mount Vernon on February 2nd. I guess that was Friday, wasn't it? That was a great game. Probably one of the best final 3 to 4 minute sequence I've had in a game in a long, long time. Solon wanted it with a 3-pointer at the buzzer by Kobe Leitz. 55-54. Just lots of lead changes and ties down the stretch, and just a great game. And certainly both of those teams are state championship contenders in Class 3A. They're both really, really good. Solon, of course, has Kelly Levine, the guard that's going to go to Iowa. Mount Vernon has a really good crew of juniors and younger. They've got the Frank girls who are sophomores, a couple really good guards. So both those teams are outstanding, and it was just a treat to see that game the other night.
And what do you got tomorrow night?
Well, that's to be determined.
Are you going to a game tonight since everything starts
Well,
tonight?
I've got Iowa Penn State women.
Oh, that's
8 o'clock.
right.
8 o'clock on, is that on Peacock? What's that on tonight? I think it's on FS. That's Big Ten Network tonight, so people get to watch the show tonight. And then tomorrow, I think I've kind of got a little bit of a flow chart. If Prairie wins tonight against Cedar Falls, they can clinch the MVC Mississippi Division title. If they win tomorrow against at Iowa City Liberty, they play at Iowa City Liberty, which won't be easy tomorrow.
Sure.
If they would get beat tonight, I think what I'll do is go over to Clear Creek and cover Clear Creek Amana against Marion. The Clippers will be shooting for an undefeated regular season, and that's worth something as well.
We've you got conference champions all decided, right, Jeff?
No.
Okay.
Let me see. I've got my standings here in front of me. Cedar Falls and Prairie are both 12-0. Winner takes the wheel in that division race, even though they both play Friday as well. MVC Valley, Western Dubuque is the champion. Mount Vernon wins the East in the WAMAC. Clear Creek Amana is the West champion. River Valley North, Maquoketa is 13-1. They have earned a share at least. Monticello is at Northeast tonight. If they win that, they share the title with the Cardinals. River Valley South, that belongs to Iowa City Regina. Cal Weed is the East champ in the Tri-Rivers. Northland wins the West. They were both undefeated in conference play. NICL East goes to Jessup. Northeast Iowa is still yet to be determined. Waverly Shell Rock's 9-0. Decorah's 8-1. They play each other tomorrow. In the South Iowa Cedar League, Sigourney wins the East. It's a 3-way tie in the West between Linville Sully, Montezuma, North Mahaska. And MFL Marmac is the champion of the still only 9-team league, Upper Iowa.
Yeah, we've got everything on the boys' side decided, with the exception of the NBC, in which Kennedy and Senior look pretty good right now, and then Waverly and Decorah play tomorrow night on the boys' side, and that'll determine whether that league ends in a tie or if Waverly wins it outright. So River Valley on the boys' side, Monticello in the north, and West Branch in the south. Are your winners? The WAMAC's been decided. Clear Creek Amana beat Williamsburg on a last-second shot the other night to win the West. Undefeated Solon is the winner in the East. South Iowa Cedar. Keota was the East Division champ. Linville Sully the West. Keota the overall because it beat Linville Sully and went undefeated. Against conference foes, Northland in the Tri-Rivers West. 10th straight championship conference-wise for the Lynx. Bellevue Marquette in the East, and then Jessup won the North Iowa Cedar League East, and little old Lansing Key with its very first Upper Iowa Conference championship on the boys' side. So
that's great. Their girls were 5-15 last year, and this year they're 16-5, and they're almost all sophomores and freshmen. So they're going to be a factor there for a long time.
Outstanding. You want to talk women real quick? You said Penn State tonight.
Penn
La-
State tonight, Nebraska Sunday. Everybody's counting down Caitlin's chase to Kelsey Plum. 65 to tie, 66 to break it. Probably won't happen tonight, but who knows? I think the question is whether so if you're Iowa, would you rather have it happen at Nebraska on FS1 Sunday or at home against Michigan next Thursday on Peacock?
I'd rather have it at home. If you had to
Yeah, but
draw,
not many people will see it outside of the 15,000.
well, that's true.
Unless you stream it. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know how many people stream it these days, but yeah, I think they'd rather have it happen at home. So if she's close Sunday and they've got a comfortable lead, maybe they take her out.
we shall see.
Yeah.
Another week full of drama, Jeff, with some people taking more pot shots at Kate.
Yeah. And I don't know if you read Halas's column. I thought Mike nailed it correctly, just right on the head. This season, don't worry about what's going on outside. Don't worry about what Cheryl Swoops thinks or me or anybody else. I mean, just enjoy this thing. Seasons like this, careers like this, they just don't happen often. And if somebody is a quote unquote hater on Caitlin Clark or on the Hawkeyes, don't let it ruin your day. It's been a fun ride, and who knows where it ends? Who knows where it ends this year? Who knows whether Caitlin comes back next year? Just sit back and enjoy the show.
And women's college basketball is more popular than it's ever been, and enjoy that too. So
yeah, it's a good product.
How it got there, a lot of different people. There's no question.
Yeah. And there were people before Caitlin Clark that were excellent basketball players. There's more coming, probably more coming because of her. And she deserves I'm excited to see what the state of girls basketball in Iowa is going to be like in 8 years when these little girls that are, getting their shoes signed by Caitlin Clark are sophomores, juniors, seniors in high school, and what they can do down the road. So hopefully I'm still around to see it.
All right, my man. Is there anything else you wanna hit? I think we've hit a lot of good things today.
Yeah, I think so. No.
Who you got in the
This is
Super Bowl? Who's gonna win the Super Bowl?
Oh boy.
I don't need a score.
I've got a feeling the Chiefs are going to win it again.
All right, I do too. For some reason, I think the Niners are better, but man,
yeah, it's you just can't beat Taylor Swift karma.
There you go, man. There you go. Yeah, I do. There's good connections all over the place, right?
Yeah.
You got Purdy and Kittle on San Francisco. You got Mount Vernon's Jack Cochran for the Chiefs, and to just enjoy the game, right? No hating either way. So,
no, I'll be listening to it on the way back from Lincoln.
There you go. There you go.
This is a fun time of the year. The days are getting longer. You go to a game and it's still light out. This is great, and looking forward to seeing how it all turns out between now and mid-March for you and me as far as the high school scene.
No time to exhale. Not until April, maybe.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. All right, Jeff, thanks very much. Folks, thanks for listening to another edition of the Call Both Ways podcast. Enjoy the great weather while we have it. Enjoy basketball. It's as our friend Nathan Ford would say, this is March. It's not quite March, but it's got that feel to it. So
Feels like March outside. It feels like May outside.
it does, 100%. So yeah, get outside and enjoy the nice weather here while we have it. So thanks for listening, folks. We will talk to you again next week for the Call It Both Ways podcast. Have a good weekend.